is the 17th of January 2026. Yesterday I spoke about the Sila, moral discipline, as the foundation of the development of mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. Hence, it is compared with the foundation of the building. Without Sila, moral discipline, we cannot construct the building of mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. They will not be firmly developed. They will not be firmly established without Sila, moral discipline. And it is also likened to the mouth, because the higher mental developments, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, have to pass through the Sila, like the food or medicine should pass through the mouth. Once you have been well established on the moral discipline, you should move on to prevent the mental illnesses or defilements. To prevent mental illnesses, I said yesterday, first meditators should have the willingness, great desire, great willpower to prevent those mental illnesses or defilements. Because the stronger willpower, the stronger effort rises. That's why you should have a great willingness to prevent or to be free from those mental illnesses, defilements. And having that willpower, you should apply effort to observe the presently arising object. I said that meditators should apply effort to push your mind towards the meditative object, to propel the mind to the meditative object, and to get closer to the meditation object. If you apply effort, then mind gets closer. Over time, it sinks into the meditative object. This is what I spoke about yesterday. But effort alone is not sufficient, not enough to observe the object. Another mental quality, mental factor is required to observe the meditation object. And that is none other than the aiming mental factor, which aims at the meditative object, which directs your mind towards the meditative object, which targets the meditative object accurately. These two mental factors are required to observe the meditation object. The first is effort, mental effort, mental energy, and the second is aiming mental quality, aiming factor. When these two mental factors are present, then only will be capable of observing the presently arising object. There is an analogy to explain how crucial these two mental factors are to observe the presently arising object. And the analogy is the game of darts. You might have seen or played the game of darts. In the game of darts, small missiles or darts are thrown to a target. I think that target is called as bullseye. So to hit the center or to hit the bullseye, first you should aim accurately. You should aim the target accurately. Without aiming, it is not possible to hit the target. But aiming alone is not sufficient, not enough. You have to apply effort to release the missile. To release the missile without applying effort, you will not be able, it is not possible to release the missiles or the darts. And again, the effort must be sufficient effort. If too weak, the darts will fall short. Darts will fall short. So that's why sufficient effort is required. On another hand, if you apply effort alone, but without accurate aiming, again the missile will not hit the target. When you apply effort, you should aim at the right direction. If you aim at wrong direction, still will not hit the target. That's why both mental qualities are required. Accurate aiming should be accurate. Effort should be sufficient. Sufficient effort is required. Then only we will hit the target. Similarly, when you are about to observe the meditation object, effort alone is not sufficient. Effort alone is not sufficient. You have to aim at that meditative object. If you are about to observe the rising and falling of the abdomen, you have to aim at abdomen. You have to aim at abdomen. If you are about to observe the movement of the feet, you have to aim at the feet. And again, in other hand, the aiming alone is not sufficient. You have to apply effort, and the effort must be sufficient. If you do not apply sufficient effort, your mind will fall short. Your mind will not approach or reach the meditative object. Hence, the objects remain uncleared. The objects remain not obvious, not apparent. It remains blurred, unclear, or you will not see at all. If you are not familiar with this analogy, there is another familiar analogy, that is the game of marbles. Children play the game of marbles. When they play the marbles, they first aim the target, and then they apply effort to release the marble, and they apply sufficient effort. So in this game as well, when children play the game of marble, if they don't aim accurately, they will not hit the target. If effort is not sufficient, the marble will fall short. So both accurate aiming and sufficient effort are required. Similarly, when you observe the meditative object, both mental factors are required. These two mental factors condition the mind, and meditative object remain connected. With the application of these mental factors, the mind, the observing mind, and the meditation object become connected. And this is how the yogis sees, or yogis experience the object clearly, vividly. Therefore, when you close your eyes, after closing your eyes, you should aim at abdomen to see, to experience, to sense the rising and falling of abdomen. You should not aim at it elsewhere. You should not aim elsewhere, because rising, falling take place in the abdomen, not in your hand, not in your leg, not in your head, but in the abdomen. You should not even aim at nostril. Some yogis, some meditators still aim at nostril. Rising, falling do not take place at nostril, so you should aim at abdomen to perceive the rising and falling movement. Meanwhile, you should apply effort to propel your mind, to drive your mind, to push your mind, and the mind gets closer to that abdomen, then you discover the rising and falling clearly. You apply effort, but without aiming properly, it is still impossible to see the rising and falling clearly. You aim at the abdomen, but without effort, it's still not possible to see the movement of the abdomen clearly. When these both mental factors are present, then the observing mind and the meditation object of rising and falling become well connected. And when mind and meditation object become well connected, then you start to see the sensation natures involving there. This principle applies not only when you observe the movement of the abdomen, when you observe mental objects such as thinking, thoughts, planning, memory, etc. You should aim. You should aim and you should apply sufficient effort to observe those mental objects. When sensation become obvious at various parts of the body and you are about to observe those sensations, so again you should aim at the sensation or the location where the sensation is arising. If it is in the knee, aim at knee. If it is in back, then aim at back. If it is in the head, then at the head. You have to aim, and then you have to propel your mind by application of sufficient effort. If you do walking, then to observe the movements of the feet. If you move right foot, you should aim at right foot. At that time you should not aim at left foot. Some meditators, they aim at second foot. While moving right, they aim at left foot. That is not the way. If you move right, then aim at right foot. When you move left, then aim at left foot. Meanwhile, apply sufficient effort so that you can see the movements of the feet clearly. Similarly, in day-to-day activities, if you move right hand, you should aim at the right hand, not left hand. When you move left hand, you should aim at the left hand. While bowing down, when you lower your head, you have to aim at the head. While eating, when you chew, you have to aim at the mouth. In this way, you should aim accurately the bodily part which is functioning or which is active, and apply sufficient effort to observe that action, that movement, or that functioning part of the body. In this way, whatever object you observe, you should aim and apply sufficient effort. And this must be done repeatedly, continuously, persistently, not for once or twice. For example, when you observe the movement of the abdomen, rising, falling, to observe rising, you should aim, you should apply effort. To observe falling, again, you should aim, you should apply effort. To observe the second pair of rising and falling, again you should aim and apply sufficient energy. To observe the third, fourth, fifth, then after it mind wanders, to observe the wandering mind, again you have to aim. You have to aim at that wandering mind, then you have to apply sufficient effort. Then after noting the wandering mind, you have to aim back to the abdomen, aim at back to abdomen to observe the rising and falling again. If sensation become obvious, to observe the sensation, aim at sensation, apply effort. In this way, continuously, repeatedly, again and again, you should apply effort and accurate aiming. When you fail to do so, you miss the object. You will not see the object. That is when you fail to observe the meditative object. I am emphasizing repeatedly to apply these two mental factors, aiming and effort, because without these two mental factors, mindfulness will not arise, mindfulness will not be developed. mindfulness will not be developed. Without mindfulness, no concentration, no wisdom. So in order to develop mindfulness, these two mental qualities are required. As you apply these two mental factors and your mind become connected with the meditative object, mind become connected with the meditative object, mean at that time you become capable of preventing the three kinds of wrongful thoughts which are associated with the mental illnesses or mental defilements. As you become capable of connecting the meditation object and the mind, or when you become capable of applying the mind on the meditative object, you become capable of preventing the three kinds of wrongful thoughts which prevents the illness. Because right now we are talking about the prevention and cure of the mental illnesses. Whenever you fail to observe the meditation object, whenever you fail to connect your mind with the meditation object, these three wrongful thoughts are likely to arise. And they are: first, kama vitaka, sensuous thought or sense-related thought, which is associated with lobha, greed or attachment. Second, vyapada vitaka, ill will, aversion, which is associated with anger. Third, vihingsa vitaka, the cruel or the violent thought, which is also associated with anger, the violent, the cruel anger. So these three wrongful thoughts are likely to arise whenever you miss to observe the presently arising object. Of them, kama vitaka, sensuous thought or the sense-related thought, which is associated with the greed, attachment, is the thought which wants to see pleasing, which wants to hear pleasing, then pleasing smell, wants pleasing smell, want to taste pleasing, then pleasing tangible object, pleasing tangible object for intimate. So related to the five sense objects. So this sensuous thoughts wants the sense objects. Simply this thought wants the pleasing sense object. It may arise in the form of thinking or planning or fantasy or daydreaming and so on. While practicing meditation, meditators may recollect the past good events when you were enjoying the sense object. It could be eating the delicious food, enjoying the delicious food. You may recollecting that, and you may be thinking at this moment, oh, it was so delicious food that you enjoyed, or it was so good music it was so good movie, or it was a very nice time when I spent with my friends, with my family. So if you are recollecting in this way, this is the sensuous thought related to the past. Not only past-oriented sensuous thought, it could be present-oriented sensuous thought. Like you may think, oh, I am feeling bored, I want to listen to music, or I want a sip of coffee, or I want to put on makeup, dye my hair, put on the nail polish. So these are the present-oriented, the sensuous thought. It could be future-oriented sensuous thought, like after retreat, I will have my favorite food, I will eat, I will watch all the new movies. So these are future-oriented sensuous thought. Simply, sensuous thought is sense-related, sense-object-related thought, which is associated with greed or attachment or craving, which long on the sense object. Whenever you fail to observe the presently arising object, mind is vulnerable to these sensuous thoughts. It is likely to arise sensuous thought. If not sensuous thought, then the ill will, aversion is likely to arise. This ill will, aversion is associated with anger or hatred. Especially when your mind encounter with disagreeable or unpleasant objects. It may arise from any six sense door whenever you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or think about the unpleasant or disagreeable object. It could be the displeasure with the practice, being agitated with the unpleasant sensation, or frustration with the thinking and thoughts. So these things may condition to arise the ill will, aversion. It may arise again with the past event, or when you have the bad memory, you may think, oh, he or she did me, he or she behaved me like that. I will not forgive him or her. That is the past-oriented, the ill will or aversion. Or maybe right now you might be angry with mosquito, maybe ants, or maybe you did ill will or aversion might be future oriented. Next time, if he or she behave or says me like that, I will tail her off like that. This is future oriented, the ill will and aversion. When this second, the wrongful thought remains unchecked or remain unchecked, then it may may become stronger and may transform to the third wrongful thought. Now it becomes more cruel and violent. Now it wants to hurt, or it wants to cause harm to others. It is the harmful thought, it's the violent, cruel. So cruel thought, that is vihingsa vitakka. This thought is harmful. Now it wants to insult, abuse, harm, be violent physically or verbally. In this way, these three kinds of wrongful thought are likely to arise when you miss to observe the presently arising object. In contrast, when you observe the presently arising object with application of accurate aiming and sufficient effort, your mind is free from these three kinds of wrongful thoughts. These three wrongful thoughts are called the miccha vitakka or miccha sankappa in Pali, so in English, wrongful thoughts. So the aiming, especially the aiming mental quality, which is in Pali vitakka. Vitakka, hence it is also called as samma vitakka or samma sankappa, because this aiming factor is directly opposite to those three kinds of wrongful thoughts. This means this accurate aiming prevents from arising the three kinds of wrongful thought, three kinds of mental illnesses. That's why all the yogis, whenever you observe the presently arising object, whether rising, falling, thinking thoughts, bodily sensations, movements of the feet, or day-to-day activities, apply sufficient effort and aim accurately at the meditative object. If you apply sufficient effort and accurate aiming, your mind remains free from these three kinds of wrongful thought. May you all be able to apply sufficient effort and accurate aiming. Through application of accurate aiming and sufficient effort, may you be able to observe the presently arising object clearly, vividly, and may you be able to develop mindfulness, concentration, and also be able to free from these three kinds of wrongful thoughts.